Say I'm good-hearted, but I'm just getting started. Got my eyes on the target. No, no. Till the battle's won, till kingdom come. I'll never run. Best to give me your loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, they'll be calling me royalty. Best to give me your loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, they'll be calling me royalty. They say I'm dangerous 'cause I broke all their cages. No, I won't sit and take it. No, no. They left me for dead, I guess I'll never learn. Every time I break, there's just more pain to burn. They'll never, never, never learn. Till the battle's won, till kingdom come. I'll never run. Best to give me your loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, they'll be calling me royalty. Best to give me your loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, they'll be calling me royalty.
don't speak unless spoken to. I understand.
Mm-hmm. It's been a long winter, and we are here for a new year and a new racing series and a new season, and with some returning voices, and it all starts here. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for making us a part of your evening. My name is Sam Cooper Bennett, with you here tonight, returning to the Pony Express Sim Racing fold for this one here tonight. And joining me in the booth is the master of mediocrity himself, Mr. J.R. Kopp, and also joining me in the booth as well, another voice returning to the booth is one Mr. Byron Rodney. JR, we'll start with you. A new season, a new era here in Pony Express Sim Racing. It's going to get exciting from here.
Yes, it is, Sam. I'm really looking forward to this season. Looks like we've got quite a few guys coming out this year, and it looks like, judging by some of the practice times, it should be some great close racing. Thank you very much for having me as well.
Yeah, very happy to have you along for the ride. Byron, you're a returning voice to the booth, and I bet you're more than happy to be back with us here tonight.
I'm very happy to be back with you, but I may not be here for long, Sam, because it looks like I just cannot hold the server up on my machine and where I am located at tonight. So this may be a quick hello, everyone, and goodbye, everyone, because I keep getting booted out of the server.
Well, we are here anyway, regardless, and Byron, you can chime in whenever you need to. We've got 17 drivers set to take the green here tonight. Qualifying is just getting underway, and what better driver to go start things off here with JR than one Mr. Dennis Diaz, who's out on track, the reigning champion, sporting that meme F3 here tonight.
Yeah, Dennis is looking to pick up right where he left off last year. Going to start, hopefully for Dennis, racking in some wins, and it all starts here with qualifying. Although he does seem to have some competition tonight. Looks like Mr. David Lehman is, as close as you can get without being in front of him. Excited to see how his qualifying turns out.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see how he handles things right here. It's going to be interested to see if he can keep up. He's been keeping pace with Dennis Diaz all evening. I was watching the practice before the race session went up, and very exciting to see that challenge coming forward as well. Another driver I've been expected to keep up there as well is one Mr. Stephen Thompson. Now, for those viewers that are just joining us, this is the first time I've seen Stephen Thompson on a broadcast here that I've been on since the early days of Endurance for Amateurs. I've not seen him in a Formula 3 car. JR, maybe you can shed some light on that.
No, Sam, I have not seen him as well. I believe he took last season off for the F3 series, and I believe he's just making a return. So this should be exciting for Steven. I know he's really good racer, really consistent, and I think he's going to be a contender in this championship if he manages to make it all year long. Yeah,
he really is the another man to look out for. One driver that's in this field tonight, and is actually the sponsor of the championship, Mr. Scott Herbert. Now he's in pit road right there, sporting the green and yellow of his company. There you can see it in the top right hand corner of your screen. Howard Hanna, Scott Herbert Realtor. Make sure you check that out if you're looking for a new home. But Scott Herbert, the sponsor of the league, and it's good to have sponsors on board, especially if they're racing in this series as well.
Yeah, that's really great that these guys, especially Scott in this case, he is a sponsor of this series, and I believe he also sponsors one of the other series. I'll have to check on that. But it's really nice to see Scott's out here. And Scott is a good racer. He's not just a sponsor who likes to drive around and get some screen time. He is a very competitive racer as well.
Time's coming in already for qualifying, and it's Bryce Anderson who's drawn first blood here in qualifying. Dennis Diaz into second place, David Lehman into third, Steve Rubens in the number 704 has slotted into P4. Time's coming in thick and fast here. Byron, I'm not sure if you're back yet, but some good action out on track already.
Yeah, I'm just trying to come back in, and it keeps booting me right back out. I get in for a few seconds, but let's take a talk about the track that we're qualifying on. Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, just under 2.5 miles, 10 turns, and I don't know if I'd really qualify this as a super technical track, but you have to be on your game with this track because it does flow back and forth, and there are some interesting turns and elevation changes here.
Yeah, we just got on board with Stephen Thompson right now, and for some reason I put it on the gyrocam and it showed an empty cockpit. You know, I can assure you he is in that cockpit as he's we're on board with him right now. And Byron, just give us a rundown of what he's going through right now.
Well, I can't give you that rundown right at this moment. You'll have to carry me.
Well, he's going for this. This is a very integral part of the track here that he's just gone through there, JR. That is that double apex right-hander. Very much a corner that's caught a lot of drivers out. I'm pretty sure it's caught you out more than one occasion as well.
Yes, Sam. Thank you very much for pointing that out. Yeah, Moss Corner you come into that carrying a lot of speed, and it's an uphill kind of off-camber braking zone with that double apex, and you really can lose or gain a lot of time in that corner, and it does catch a lot of guys out, and it's a kind of a blind entry, so you end up, if one guy gets caught out and you're coming up behind him, you usually end up getting caught in his mess.
Yeah, Stephen Thompson dropping into P5, probably not going to be happy with that one, but I believe he might have another lap in him. One driver that's not put a time in yet, and he's just put a time in right now to move Thompson down as Mark Dillon Jr., the league owner, is up into P4. Robert Lowry in P5. Zachary Maxson is out on track right now in that number 700 car. Different paint scheme to what I have on his driver information, but I'll grab that as soon as this broadcast is over. But Maxson is a driver that's very underrated. Same for another driver that's out on track, and he's just had a spin there actually. Zach Purcell has had a bit of an incident there. That's going to cost him some time there, JR.
Yeah, Zach, you know, it's qualifying. These guys are trying to get every position they can, because they know just how hard it can be to pass on this track. So these guys are really starting to push it, and Zach just Canadian Tires Park it'll bite you if you get a tire just off a little bit. And Zach's usually a pretty good consistent racer. I've had the opportunity to race with him a few times, and that's not very common for Zach to have those kind of issues.
Yeah, he's had to give up the ghost. He's put both of his times in. Well, he's done both of his laps here, and he's not been able to set a time here. Carl Smith and Christopher Hara, two other drivers that haven't put times in. We're looking at Zachary Maxim right now, who's on his second lap right now. His last lap was a 1:14.646. Now coming through the final corner. Can this be an improvement for Maxson as he comes down to the line? And what will that be? Not an improvement there for Maxson. Oh, he does get an improvement up to P10.
Yeah. P10, 112.9. I mean, that was almost a second and a half improvement. Great job by Zachary Maxson.
Yeah, great job. So everybody has put their efforts in. Obviously, Carl Smith and Zach Purcell will be starting from the back. Now, let's talk about the rules in this series, JR. It's going to be two races. Both timed about 30 minutes, I believe, and it's going to be where they start with from the qualifying, but the second race is going to be more interesting because it's a full reverse grid for race 2.
Yeah, full invert on race 2 based on where you finish in race 1, which really makes for, I'm not going to say it's a less exciting race 1, but it is definitely a exciting race 2 because those guys that are fast are going to try hard. You only got 30 minutes to come from the backs, so I expect there to be a lot of action, you know, in both races, but that second race should be really exciting and interesting, so make sure everybody stays around and watch that. Yeah,
it's going to be a good night. It's a short night. Make sure also you stick around after this broadcast as well, as we are going dirt racing afterwards. You can go to Extreme Sim TV and head over there and join in for the Pro Truck Series. You spoke to those guys a couple of weeks ago there, JR. Those guys seem very excited to be bringing those series, as well as the NASCAR for Amateurs series coming up later this week.
Yes, I spoke with Matt and AJ at length, and those two guys have put a lot of energy and a lot of time into making that broadcast for both the Pro 4 Truck Series and the NASCAR for Amateur Series into really good shows. Those guys do a great job, bring a lot of energy. So make sure you stick around and check out the Extreme Sim TV channel after this. Those guys are awesome.
Yep, they are. So just about a minute and a half left in qualifying. We will get the results up for you in just a second. Nobody else is going to be going out there. I don't think even Christopher Hara is in the session. Either he is in the session or he's not. I can't unless I go unprofessional and take a look on the iRacing UI, which I won't. I've got to be professional as possible. But O'Hara hasn't even been out on track. Carl Smith and Zach Purcell, as I've already mentioned, have been out on track, but unfortunately not been able to post times. Out of this qualifying order, though, JR, who stands out for you the most?
I mean, it's hard to go against Mr. Dennis Diaz, but I was really shocked to see that Mr. David Lehman he wasn't as close as I was expecting him to be. I mean, he was, a half a second, almost 3/10 off, but I was really expecting him to be a lot closer. But I think the biggest surprise was Mr. Bryce Anderson, who put in a great qualifying time.
Yeah, he did. He put in a 1:11.92. Now, David Lehman put in a 1:12.06. That's not relative to what he put down in the practice sessions earlier, but we've seen time and time before that race pace and qualifying pace are two completely different things. Mark Dillon Jr. in P4 driving for Pony Express Sim Racing. Good to see him up there as the checker flag comes out on qualifying. And Robert Lowry, brand new driver to the series. He's up in the top 5. Going to be interesting to see how he fares. Let's quickly go to the grid though for the race as we get ready to go here. It's going to be a standing start, and starting up on the pole will be, once I get my thing figured out, will be Dennis Diaz, Bryce Anderson second. Then we've got I will get it in a minute, David Lehman and Mark Dillon. Then we've got Robert Lowry, Stephen Thompson, Steve Rubens, Sean Atkins, Zachary Nurnberger, Zachary Maxson ran out of top 10. We've got Dave Candy, Mackenzie Johnson, Scott Herbert, Daniel Barnett, Carl Smith, Zach Purcell, and we also have Christopher Hara, I think might be joining the back of the grid. We don't really know yet, but we are ready to go racing here at Canadian Tire. Round 1 of the season is about to get underway. Round 1, race 1 is about to get underway with Dennis Diaz at the front. We are looking at the field as they are lining up right now as we are getting ready to go. Who is going to come out on top of this one? Who's going to draw first blood in this one? We'll find out very soon. Just waiting for the last couple of drivers to line up on the grid and get themselves ready. I think we are just about ready now, waiting for the flagman to wave that green flag and get us ready here at Canadian Tire. Green flag is up in the air. We're going to 5 red lights here tonight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we are racing here at Canadian Tire. A great start by Dennis Diaz down towards turn 1, and everybody's scrambling for positions behind him. Great start for Bryce Anderson as well as they get off it out of turn 1, and already around the outside goes Mark Dillon Jr. up to third place. We got one off in the background. That's Sean Atkins, I believe, manages to save it, but a very scary moment for him. We've got one off as well through turn 2. That's Scott Herbert going off into the grass there. Does not get off into the tyre barrier. Gets it out cleanly as Zachary Nurnberger starting from pit road. He's at the back, but at the front, Dennis Diaz out into a clear lead. David Lehman getting the jump at the start, going up into second place. Mark Dillon into third. Bryce Anderson to fourth, and Robert Lowry keeping his 5th place for now. But for how long? Because Stephen Thompson is right behind him. What a start here, JR.
Wow, what an amazing start. It looks like Bryce Anderson, I don't know if he just was falling asleep at the wheel on the start, but he didn't move, and that caused a massive chain reaction behind him. The accordion effect took into place, and a lot of drivers kind of got caught out there, but looks like everybody's recovered. And the one thing this field did not want to see was Mr. Dennis Diaz getting off into the lead. That was not what they were hoping to see tonight.
No, he's already out to a decent lead already. He's starting lap 2 already, and you can see on the time and towel right there. He's already out to a 1 second lead over David Lehman in second place, Bryce Anderson in third, Robert Lowry in fourth. Then we have Stephen Thompson, Zachary Maxson up 4 spots already to P6. Kyle Smith from the back of the field up 8 spots to P7. A lot of big movers already, and we've had someone go off into Sean Atkins. That's had a big crash here.
Sean Atkins, we had Mark Dillon Jr. coming out of White's corner, had a nice slow slide and managed to keep it off the wall, and he's back up and running as well. So close call for a couple racers tonight already.
Yeah, and unfortunately Mark Dillon Jr., no stranger to that corner. He's gone off there before, and he's probably having a bit of a PTSD from that corner. As Mackenzie Johnson has had an issue. He's had a spin somewhere. As we're going to go back live and find out exactly what happened to him.
Looked like Mackenzie Johnson, and we talked about it at the beginning of the race. The Moss corner just lost it coming up that hill on that off-camber uphill corner. Luckily for him, there was nobody behind him, and he was able to get started and get back going again right away, Sam.
Absolutely, as we keep it going right now. We are on lap 3 already. We're looking at Carl Smith putting Stephen Thompson under a bit of pressure right now in that monster Formula 3 car. Good to see him putting people under challenge. Great start for Carl Smith, though. Up 8 spots already from the back of the field. Got to be very happy with how his race is running so far.
Yeah, Kyle has put together some great starting laps here. Those cold tires didn't seem to phase him at all. He just jumped on the gun and took off. Like you said, he's already up 8 spots. He is having a great race.
Yeah, and he's in a battle with Stephen Thompson right now, and Thompson trying to get around Zachary Maxson, who's also had a great start. He started in P10, already up to P5 right now. Good run for him. He's trying to chase down Robert Lowry as we've had another incident for Mark Dillon Jr. He's around again and almost collects Mackenzie Johnson as well in the process. Dillon able to get going again with no damage, but not the best of starts there for the Pony Express guys.
I'll tell you, I think Mark Dillon, you mentioned earlier, he's going to have PTSD. He and this track have a lot of bad history. Poor Mark just cannot seem to get things together. But the nice thing about this format, Sam, is he may have a bad first race, but he's going to be right in there for the next race.
So to cut you off there, JR, but we had a big incident there for Stephen Thompson. Got collected by somebody, I believe it was...
Zachary Maxson.
Yeah, it was, and we're going to take another look and see what happened here. Just ran right into the back of it. Maxson was going slow, and I'm guessing Thompson didn't see him coming, or he didn't have the spotter up and running, because that is very unusual to see there from the number 24 driver.
Yeah, it looks like, I'm trying to see, it looks like Zach or Sean Addison had an incident too, but I can't seem to see that. It's off. Oh, yeah. Sean Addison and Atkins as well had a big off.
Yeah, that was a while ago. Yeah,
he popped up my screen.
Yeah, he ripped off the rear tire. Zachary Maxson probably going to be nursing some damage here. We'll go back to the action in just a second. Just trying to find Zachary Maxson. And Maxson... Probably, I think he lost his rear wing because of that. Yeah, a bit of damage on that car, and oh yeah, Atkins came out again and had another crash. Oh, somebody hit those. Well, go back to Maxson. He came back on track right in front of Mackenzie Johnson, and Johnson just ran him over. Let's go back and take a look at what happened to Sean Atkins here. Going for the right and left-hander, just went straight over the grass and into the wall, tyre wall. Yeah, I can see it right there, JR. He had a big hit right there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. He just came across out of out of the S's and just couldn't make that turn and hit the rumble strip and was launched.
That he was. Looking at Daniel Barnett right now in a battle with Zach Purcell. Purcell getting a better run off him out the corner right there as they go up the hill and up into the barriers goes Barnett, and another one falling by the wayside. Daniel Barnett, not sure what happened there. That was a very unusual incident. We're going to take another look. I think he might have caught the grass as he was just coming up the hill.
Yeah, and Mario in the Andretti Straits is a really strange spot to go off it. Like you said, Sam, I think he just caught the the grass just a little bit, like we talked about earlier. This track will bite you if you get off a little bit.
Yeah, well, so a free position there for Zach Purcell as he now goes off in search of Dave Candy, who's a driver we've not really spoken about tonight in that Cookies number 08. Now he's up into P6 now, up 5 spots. Carl Smith continues his rise from the field up into P5 now as Mackenzie Johnson, who's had his fair share of incidents at the back of the field. Maxson, Thompson, Barnett and Atkins all pretty much out of this first race here tonight. Let's take a look at Bryce Anderson though. Not really gaining any time on David Lehman, but at the same time he's losing a lot of time as Carl Smith has had an accident.
Yeah, coming into the S's again, that that corner we mentioned is going to be tricky, and here again, luckily for Kyle, he manages to keep it off the wall, although all those spots he worked so hard to gain, he just gave back. Yeah.
And this was always going to happen, though. First race of the season, people are going to be a bit rusty. And it's showing here already here tonight as we're looking at Zachary Nürnberger in a battle with Scott Herbert right now. Going back to Zach Purcell in that Guanyan Zhu inspired car. So a lot of action we've been talking about here tonight. A lot of crashes going on here, JR. It's been a very entertaining race so far. Like I said, it's just indicative of the first race of the season. Just people knocking off that rust and finding out the hard way how this car runs right now.
Yeah, it is the first race of the year, and this track is probably one of the harder ones to knock the rust off on because you don't really get a chance to rest. There's no time. It's everything has got to be exact. It's got to be precise. But I'll tell you what, Sam, looking at one guy, Mr. Dennis Diaz, he has not had any problem knocking rust off, setting fast lap after fast lap. It looks like he never turned the machine off all year.
Well, he does like to race a lot, and he does turn up to a lot of practices, does Dennis, and definitely picking up where he left off last season when he took the open wheel for amateurs crown, and definitely not showing any signs of slowing down at all. Already 3.8 seconds ahead of David Lehman. Now Lehman has already won races in the series. He won I think he won at least one race last season. Don't quote me on that, but Lehman no stranger to victory lane here at Open Wheel for Amateurs, as Stephen Thompson has had another incident here. We're going to go back and take a look and see exactly what happened here to the Player One Esports number 24. Just runs a bit wide and smacks the barrier out of turn 2.
Yeah, and these cars are they're not made to withstand those kind of hits. You know, you can get away with a little bit, and in the endurance for amateurs, those cars are built a little bit better, but these open wheels cars, they catch that grass and off into the barrier they go.
Yeah, like I said, knocking the rust off. So Stephen Thompson and Sean Atkins, the only two drivers that are fully out of this race now. They've burned that one fast repair that they do have and will not be taking any further part in this race. We're already just under 10 minutes into this 30-minute race, and lots going on as Daniel Barnett has had another off here, and let's take a look at somebody else involved as well. I think I saw Zachary Maxson involved in that one as well.
Yep, these guys are trying to make up that time. Just pushing a little too hard, and again, Moss Corner. Boy, we're going to be spending a lot of time with replays in that, and
yeah,
looks like Daniel Barnett went off there, and Zachary Maxson just followed him right into the grass.
Yeah, so a lot going on as an incident there for Zachary Nürnberger as well. He's had to tow to pit road, and I believe that's his first fast repair burn as we go through Moss Corner with Purcell and Candy, as we've seen another incident for Carl Smith there, JR.
Yeah, these guys are just having a struggle here tonight. And Kyle Smith, you feel bad. He was having such a great race, and again, Moss Corner seems to get him. He's struggling with that corner tonight, and as you mentioned earlier, Sam, I have a lot of history with Moss Corner. I think my first ever race in the endurance series, I was second place going into Moss Corner, and I ended up, that's where my mediocrity started. I finished in the middle of the pack in that race too.
Yeah, still a good result despite everything he went through, though. But these guys are going to have to do the same thing again as well as we're looking at Zachary Maxson. I believe that is Mark Dillon Jr. right behind him now. Dillon is a full lap ahead of Maxson, and Maxson just going to let him by as Dillon moves ahead. Now is chasing down his teammate Mackenzie Johnson. Now Johnson is part of Pony Express, but is not running a Pony Express paint scheme, opting for the Hot Wheels paint here tonight. And when he showed me the paint scheme that he was going to be running, I said, my God, I'm going to see you coming, aren't I? And that's exactly right. You can definitely see that car coming from a mile off.
Yeah, that's a nice throwback. I enjoy the Hot Wheels. You know, being a Hot Wheels kid growing up, that's nice to see that. I like the look there. I like the purple rims. Those really stand out. You can pick him out in the crowd, that's for sure.
Yeah, as our broadcast partner Byron Rodney is still having problems here, and we'll get with him in a while. But I was speaking to Mac earlier, as the camera pans to him right there as he's in the battle with Mark Dillon Jr. He messaged me on Discord earlier. He goes, so Zach came up with this perfect nickname for the paint I'm running. He goes, he's called the car a hot Cheeto with wheels. So
the hot Cheeto.
Yeah, the hot Cheeto with wheels. So yeah,
with wheels, perfect.
Yeah, so that's a thing apparently. But anyway, Zachary Nuremberger is back out on track again. He's about 56 seconds off the back of Mark Dillon, but the closest battle on the track actually is Mark Dillon and Mackenzie Johnson. Zach Purcell is in a battle with Dave Candy as well, and kudos to Zach Purcell. He's now the biggest mover in the field. He started in P16, second from last. He is now up to P6. Christopher Hara didn't even set a qualifying lap. He's up to P8 in his respective race as well, and is starting to close in on Scott Herbert as well. So Christopher Hara having a good race as well.
Yeah, Christopher, I'm not sure why he didn't get to put in a qualifying time. It would have been interesting to see where he would have slotted right now had he put in a qualifying time, but up 9 places, and Christopher has had consistent lap times. He's, you know, right around the 112.5 mark, but he hasn't put a wheel wrong, and that's a very, as we've seen all the other drivers tonight, that's probably the most important thing, is being consistent and staying on track.
Yeah, one driver that's put his first foot wrong here tonight is Robert Lowry. He's just had a bit of an off-track there, able to keep it going, but lost a lot of time on Bryce Anderson. So he's in a bit of a no man's land now. He's 7 seconds behind Anderson, but a full almost 7. He's almost 8 seconds behind Anderson now, but almost 7 seconds ahead of Dave Candy. Lowry, all he needs to do is keep it on the tarmac right now, and he's got a very good finish in his first race with this series.
Yeah, keep it consistent, keep it safe, and he's turning very competitive lap times. I mean, he ran a 11.9 last lap, so it's not a slouch by any means. So he keeps that up, he's going to definitely, you know, he could very well be fighting for a podium here if any of those top 3 guys have just the slightest off. Yeah.
And I think David Lehman might have made a mistake somewhere, because Bryce Anderson has closed back in on the 557 Hankook sponsored machine. The student driver car is on the move right here. Anderson seems to have got it all hooked up so far, but there's still plenty of racing left to go. We've only just gone past halfway here, so anything could happen here at Canadian Tire, and it usually does. As first tracks of the season go, we're going here on Wednesday as well with Endurance for Amateurs, JR. It's not the easiest first visit on a brand new season.
No, it is definitely not. It's a smaller track, so you end up turning a lot of laps. It's real tight. There's not a lot of runoff. But from a viewer standpoint, and even from a racer standpoint, it is a very fun track to drive and to watch. That it is. It's I like to call it the Canadian roller coaster, because you're going up and down like through so many turns, and it's just unbelievable to race on. If you are new to iRacing and you're just getting into road racing, then you owe it to yourself to buy this track on the in the iRacing store. Definitely puts
separates the men from the boys, so to speak, and really gains you that experience when it comes to road racing.
That it does. It has just about every aspect of road racing you could ask for, all within a minute and 10 seconds. So it's definitely one of those tracks that I would recommend buying. And Sam, it looks like Zach Purcell is starting to close the gap here. He's only 0.3 of a second behind.
Yeah, we're just focused on that battle, but right behind him, Scott Herbert has had a spin through Moss Corner and has lost that position to Christopher Horner, has lost the position to Kyle Smith, who's on a very good comeback trail, I will say. But yeah, Scott Herbert having a very big spin there, another one falling victim to that Moss Corner.
We almost need a ticker, Sam, that shows how many Moss Corner incidents we have at this track, it seems like.
Absolutely, we'll definitely implement that one in the future. But anyway, going back to the battle between Candy and Purcell, definitely worth taking a look at. Steve Rubens has come into pit road, same for Scott Herbert. Now, I didn't realise that pit stops were mandatory in this one. I guess I've been proved wrong right here.
Yeah, I figured with a 30-minute race, there would have been enough fuel. These guys could have made it on one stop. Maybe we'll have to ask Mr. Mark Dillon if they reduce the fuel load to force everybody to do a pit stop, which is great and exciting, kind of shakes things up a little bit.
Yeah, as Herbert leaves pit road, Mackenzie Johnson just coming round as well. Scott Herbert is just coming out of pit road himself as Dennis Diaz now comes into pit road from the lead. And he's going to have a whole lot of cars behind him as well.
Yes, he is.
There comes Lehman.
Well, it'll be interesting to see now with some of the accidents and some of the incidents, some of these guys were able to pit a little bit earlier. And it'll be interesting to see where some of the leaders file in at and if they get stuck racing in traffic that they don't want to be in.
Absolutely. Dennis Diaz has no problems at all, though. He is out and away already, as we've got wholesale pit stops going on right now. Mark Dillon Jr. has had another incident here. Let's go back and take a look and see what happened to him. Through the sweeping left-hander and up towards Moss, and I'm guessing he's going to fall victim to Moss, just like everybody else. And yep, exactly right. I should have been a sidekick.
Moss Corner is it's a tough corner. It looks so easy. You're coming uphill, you think you got help braking, and then it just disappears.
Then it does, as Mackenzie Johnson now finds himself in a battle with Steve Rubens. Now the difference being, Rubens has been in pit road, Mackenzie Johnson has not. Mark Dillon Jr. has got ahead of Kyle Smith. Now that's because Smith has just been in pit road himself. Now everybody's made a pit stop now. It's basically pushed the reset button, but I think I'm looking at the timing tower right here. The biggest loser throughout all these pit stops right here has been Robert Lowry. Now it's not been for position, but somehow he's lost about 10 seconds off the back of Bryce Anderson there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe he had some optional repairs or some mandatory repairs that we were just unaware of. But it does seem like he lost quite a bit of time just in the pit stops. I can't imagine unless maybe crew chief wasn't working and he overfueled.
Maybe, but
we
still,
did see that at the 3 hours of green hell. Guys were miscalculating fuel strategies and cost them a lot of positions.
That they were. As he didn't lose a position though, so it won't be too much of a problem for him. And Bryce Anderson is off track though, and that's not going to help him at all. And all that time that Robert Lowry lost, he's going to get back now after Anderson had that off track right there.
This track is just it's really starting to show which guys put in the time and which guys just are struggling.
Now it's through that turn 3 though. Turn 3 is basically the same as turn 2, but obviously it's a right-hander. It's very easy to drift off wide through there, and that's exactly what Bryce Anderson did. More problems with Carl Smith though. He's jumped to pit road, and this is exactly why. It's out of turn 1, took too much curb, big spin and big hit into the tire wall.
Yeah, poor Kyle. You know, he was having such a great race. He had that couple of incidents earlier, managed to save it, but not that time. That one really got him.
Yeah, look at this now, JR. We've got a big three-way tussle now for P7. Mackenzie Johnson has it. Rubens and Hara want it. Rubens taking the position away from Christopher Hara. Now we'll set up in search of Johnson. Now this is a very interesting battle to see. One of, well, let's just say very few that are out on track right now.
Yeah, these four guys, they were spread out, and after the pit stop, they all came back out pretty close together. So this is going to be a nice battle for 7th position with just a couple laps remaining, Sam. What do we got, about 4 minutes left in race time here?
We've got about 8 minutes, actually.
Oh, mine says we're counting down. It tells me I only have 3.5 left.
Oh, well, the race is actually 35 minutes long, so we've got about another 14 minutes. So I was wrong. I was wrong on the race time, but it's saying that we've got about 45 laps of racing, so we're not even. We're about. We're just coming up to halfway. Scott Herbert has had an incident. He's had an off track. No serious damage on that green machine. It gets going once again, but yeah, the mean green machine. There we go.
The mean green machine in Moss Corner
again.
Okay.
As it's,
I'll tell you one guy who has not. In fact, I think the top 3 guys have all been fairly clean tonight. Been racing consistent. Just Mr. Dennis Diaz is just. He is putting in lap after lap once again.
Yeah, is Mr. Consistency. Definitely just picking off lap time and lap time after lap time. Dennis Diaz leading this race now by 4.7 seconds over David Lehman. Now, like I said, this race will be inverted at the next start, so Dennis will have some work to do tonight.
Yes, he will. The second race will be exciting to watch to see how he comes through the pack and avoids what we've seen to be quite a few incidents tonight. Hopefully he can get through clean and we can have some more exciting racing.
Yeah, something that's exciting going on right now. Mackenzie Johnson chasing down Dave Candy right now, and this is a pretty big battle as they come from the final 2 corners of the track, and great defending there by Dave Candy, but Mackenzie Johnson looking very hungry coming down towards turn 1. Is he going to make a move? Not quite close enough, as he's right on that rear wing of that 08 Cookies machine, as Mackenzie Johnson looking hungry now.
Yeah, Mackenzie seems like he's really found a good rhythm, and that Flamin' Cheetos car is really starting to pick up the pace. It's great to see. These 3 guys look like they're going to stay in this battle all the way to the very end.
Yeah, Rubens is on the back of this one. They've managed to get rid of Christopher Hara, who's fallen way back off of them. But again, a 3-way tussle for what is P6 now. There's a bit of a slide there for Mackenzie Johnson, but you can see how much on the edge he is in that 112 Cheeto on Hot Wheel. What did he call it?
Hot Cheeto on wheels. There
you go, Hot Cheeto on wheels. Looking very hungry for this one. Takes a little bit of a peek going through the right hand and not going to quite have the momentum right there as they come through the final 2 corners once again. Here comes Steve Rubens. Big move out of nowhere. Mackenzie Johnson actually is. That's why, because Mackenzie Johnson coming to pit road.
So that's why Mackenzie was waiting. He was trying to stretch it out, and so now Mackenzie's going to pull into the pits, get a splash and dash, and hopefully he'll have enough space to stay ahead of Scott Hewitt.
Yeah. As there's Scott Herbert coming down the start-finish straight right now. Mackenzie Johnson only just coming through. Herbert will move ahead. But Mackenzie Johnson will have the fresher tyres as he comes through turn 2 right now. I just noticed Zachary Maxson is going rather slowly around the track right now. He's got some pretty severe problems in that Williams-inspired 700 machine.
Yeah, Zachary, he started off good, and he's just had a few issues here and there, and it looks like that Williams machine is definitely not up to speed. I don't know if he's just got handling problems, but I think he's just trying to nurse it around and get it back to the pits, trying to save himself a toe.
Yeah, the checkered flag has come out. I'm not really sure why, but I guess the race is only 25 minutes long, so I'm guessing the second race is 35 minutes long. But Dennis Diaz, we're going to go back and take a look as Diaz is your race winner here in race 1. We missed it. We do apologise. Bit of a confusing situation with the times there, but Diaz picks up the first race win of the season. David Lehman in second, Bryce Anderson in third, Robert Lowry in fourth, Zach Purcell gets P5, Dave Candy P6, Steve Rubens in P7. You got Mark Dillon Jr., Christopher Hara, Scott Hewitt. That's the rest of your field right there as we are going to a warm-up. Now, while they're in the warm-up, we're going to try and get a word in with our race winner, Mr. Dennis Diaz. If he's not going to be out on track, and I'm assuming he will be because it's Dennis. Let's be blunt about it. As we're going to try and bring in Dennis Diaz to the booth. Dennis, you got a copy? Hello, Dennis Diaz.
Hey, what's up, Brian? Sam.
Yeah, just want to bring you in there, just give you a little interview there. Race winner in race 1. We kind of missed it because there was a bit of confusion over the race time, but race winner in the first race of the season. You just pretty much picked up where you left off last season, right?
Yeah, pretty much. It wasn't too difficult on my end, just keeping it consistent like always, and it just also helps that we ran this in E4A for the other 2 series as well, so I guess same programming as usual.
Now, race 2, obviously going to be a bit more difficult for yourself. It's going to be going to have to work your way through the field. Does that worry you in any way? Is the car? Do you feel confident in the car to be able to make some passes around here?
Oh yeah, no, me and the car are pretty much dialed in right now. So the focus is getting back to the front. From I think 8th place is where I'm gonna end up starting. So it shouldn't be too difficult. I hope. I know David's ahead of me, and David's pretty quick, and he knows how to fight. So let's see how it goes. Yeah,
David and Bryce were up there with you during practice and qualifying. Just didn't have that pace with you in the race. Now, are you hoping for a bit of a closer battle in that next one?
Oh no, for sure it's gonna be a closer battle. I know we're gonna have to fight through. Me, David, and Bryce are gonna have to fight through everyone else ahead, and then from that point on, we're gonna be fighting each other. So, and Canadian Tire is not an easy place to pass, so we're gonna definitely be seeing some action. So hopefully, it will look nice on your end.
Hopefully, but anyway, Dennis. Good win in that first race. Definitely going to be looking to get a second win and whitewash the round here tonight. Good luck for race 2, and hopefully we'll be speaking to you after.
All right, perfect. See you.
That was Dennis Diaz, and JR. It's basically business as usual for the current champion.
Yeah, when you talk to Dennis, his demeanor never changes. It is consistent. Don't overdrive the car. Stay out of trouble. And that's just his personality. That's his demeanor. I had him on the podcast. He's the same way. He is very cool, very calm, very level-headed. And like you said, he's going to just pick off guys one at a time and business as usual.
That's absolutely right, as we are now over to the feature. So let's go and take a look at your grid for race 2 in this one. And starting up in the pole is a man that had a lot of problems in the early part of the race. That was Mark Dillon Jr. He's going to be joined on the front row by Steve Rubens, and you've got Dave Candy, Zach Purcell, row 2, Robert Lowry and Bryce Anderson. You've got David Lehman, Dennis Diaz starting from P8 after winning race 1, Christopher Hara, Scott Hewitt running at your top 10, Mackenzie Johnson and Zachary Nurnberger are 11th and 12th, with Zachary Maxson, Kyle Smith, Sean Atkins, Daniel Barnett and Stephen Thompson bringing up your rear in a 17-car field. Now this one is 35 minutes here now. JR, this is the actual the feature race. This is where the points are paid out here tonight.
Yes, Sam. Now that I think we've got things kind of figured out there, I was under the impression it was 2 30-minute races, but it looks like we have a 25 and a 35. So this should be a great battle. I can't wait to see how Dennis and the boys. Oh, and they were already underway.
Absolutely, as they get things underway, we are racing down towards turn 1 as they get everything going in the feature race here tonight. Mark Dillon Jr. gets away well with Dave Candy in second, side by side with Steve Rubens as they come through turn 2. Everybody seems to have got away nicely so far as everybody's scrambling for positions. Almost an off track there for Zachary Maxson. We've had a problem here.
Mackenzie Johnson looks like he ran it a little bit hot coming into turn 2 and is off the track, and now we have Scott Hewitt off the track. Looks like these guys are going to get back up underway though with no serious damage.
Yeah, and that just proves right there, once you get on that grass there is absolutely nowhere to go. Let's go back to Scott Hewitt right now and see what happened to him.
Oh, Moss Corner.
And yeah, Moss Corner catches another one out. Stephen Thompson having a problem. We're going to have trouble keeping up with this one, but it's going to be chaos all the way to the checkered flag, I think, with the field being inverted like it is. And oh, that was a big hit there for Sean Atkins. That was a huge crash there.
Yep, well, again, all those guys bunched up from the start like that, and one guy has a problem in Moss Corner, and he collects a few other guys and takes them with him.
Yeah, we're going to go back and take a look at that one. That was a big lick there for Sean Atkins. Just launched up in the air and into the tire wall. That has got to be the biggest hit of the night so far as we go back to the live action right now. Mark Dillon Jr. is your race leader. Dave Candy in second, Zach Purcell in third. Look who's already up into the top 5 though, JR. Dennis Diaz is right there once again.
Yep, it didn't take him long, and he has been Mr. Smooth. I've been watching him, and he is eating these guys up with precision. He is on it again tonight, boy. It is fun to watch when he is on his game like he is tonight. But I'll tell you what, Mr. Mark Dillon, after having all those struggles in the first race, seems like he's found something here, and he is slowly pulling away from these guys behind him.
Yeah, already 1.3 seconds up the road from Dave Candy right now. Mark Dillon Jr. is up and away already as we're still having problems continuing for the likes of Stephen Thompson. Zachary Maxson having a few problems. Robert Lowry having problems as well. We've already got people in pit road. Mackenzie Johnson out of this race. Sean Atkins is out. They've both put it on the haul. It's Stephen Thompson in pit road. Scott Herbert is back out on track as well. He is down in P14, 34 seconds off the back of Kyle Smith, who didn't get off to the good start he did in race 1. But at the front, Mark Dillon Jr. is out in the lead. Dave Candy under pressure from Zach Purcell, and as battles resume between these two drivers again from race 1.
Yeah, these two seem to find each other on the track all night long, and it looks like imagine Mark Dillon Jr. ahead of them is hoping they keep fighting and holding each other up, so he allows him a little bit more free space as Mark has an off track, but he manages to save it.
That he does. Dillon is absolutely on a tear right now. Dennis Diaz struggling to get to the back of Steve Rubens right now. Rubens is in a battle of his own trying to get to the back of Zach Purcell. And it's all going on right now amongst everybody apart from Mark Dillon. Although Candy has actually started to claw the time back a little bit right now. It's less than a second now.
Yeah, he's managed to cut that gap almost in half. And it looks like he and Zach Purcell have stopped fighting long enough that they realize that they need to work together if they're going to catch Mark. And look at Mr. Dennis Diaz has managed to find another position up to 4th already. Yeah,
he managed to get past Steve Rubens. Rubens almost immediately losing his position to David Lehman. And Robert Lowry, actually, I was going to say he's got the fastest lap of the race, but that's just gone to Bryce Anderson, who's got off to probably the worst start out of the front runners. Down in P12, not the best start there for the man in the student driving machine.
Yeah, I imagine he had that paint scheme thinking more of an irony and a joke, and it's kind of turning out to be almost a curse for him this evening. Now, as we talked earlier before the broadcast, Bryce is very fast. He is quick, but he just seems to have those races where everything goes wrong.
Yeah, got a podium in race 1, so very happy to have got that one, but he's probably going to have to work a bit harder to get the podium in race 2. Mark Dillon Jr. now has extended that lead once again out to 1.3 seconds over Dave Candy, who's now back in the battle again with Zach Purcell, but Purcell needs to watch in his mirrors now, because here comes Dennis Diaz all over the rear wing of that Guanyu Zhao inspired Renault Formula 3, and here comes Dennis Diaz, big dive down the inside, and it looks like Purcell's just going to let him have it right there. Diaz up to 3rd place.
Wow, Diaz just took that inside line, and his car stuck. Everybody else seems to be sliding and having issues with that, but Dennis, he just pulled it in there and just took that spot.
Where's Michael McCoy when you need him?
Exactly.
But another good start for Robert Lowry. He's lost 1 position since the start of the race, though. He's down in P6 now. But another good, again, an impressive debut for Lowry. Steve Rubens is still up there as well, even though he's lost 5 spots out of this one. He's still in a decent position right now. Very good gap between himself and Christopher Hara, about 4.5 seconds. And Hara is under big pressure from Daniel Barnett right now. Barnett going to dive into the inside there. And Barnett having a much better start this time round than he did in race 1.
Yeah, Barnett, he's up 8 positions already. He has found some pace, found some confidence, and he is taken off, and he is reeling these guys in slowly, but he has just found some pace here all of a sudden in race number 2. It's great to see Christopher Hara also holding up in there. He's holding steady, started 9th, holding steady in 9th place, similar to what I would do if I was racing.
That's why they call you the master of mediocrity. But anyway, good start for Barnett. Hara, good debut for him so far in that 99 machine. Although he is starting to be caught now by one Mr. Zachary Nürnberger, and he's bringing Zachary Maxson with him. So Hara can't rest on his laurels here. He needs to keep focusing forward and keep trying to keep pace with Daniel Barnett. Otherwise, he's going to find himself in a world of trouble right here.
Yeah, he looks like he is starting to come under some serious pressure from the 2 Zachs. They've teamed up together, and they're running him down pretty quickly. And the hard part about this track is once you get passed by one guy, you're usually out of position, and the guy following gets you too, so you end up losing more than 1 position pretty quickly.
Yeah, as Diaz up to 2nd place, we'll go to that pass in just a second, but very much Christopher Hara becoming a victim of the Zach attack right now, as he comes through turn 1 and up towards turn 2, not able to keep pace with Barnett. Let's take a look at the pass between Dennis Diaz and Dave Candy. Now, is it going to be the same situation as what it was for Zach Purcell for Diaz? No, he's just going to sail it round the outside of Dave Candy, and excuse the pun, but that was like stealing candy from a baby.
It wasn't. And don't look now, but Mr. Diaz has reeled in Mark Dillon. He has cut almost a second off on this lap, and it doesn't look like it's going to be long, and it's going to be the Dennis Diaz show once again.
Yeah, but we know from past races, Dillon won't make it easy for him. The other guys have made it quite easy for Dennis Diaz, but we know Mark Dillon will not make it easy for Dennis as he comes out the final turn here. We notice David Lehman has been making his way through the field as well. He's just passed Dave Candy as well and is now up to P3. So Lehman is keeping up as well, albeit 3.5 seconds off the back of Dennis Diaz. Let's go back to the battle for the lead, though. Mark Dillon is trying to hold on for he's desperately trying to...
Dear life.
Yeah, that's the one. I can't get my words out. The words are all there, I just can't get them out. Anyway, he's holding on for dear life here, but like I said, he knows how to battle. But we're coming up to Moss Corner now. Can he hold on? He's had a couple of spins already there tonight, not really having the same problems right now. Good angle through that corner as well, actually, putting on the defensive move against Dennis Diaz. But coming up the Andretti straight now, it's going to be very difficult to hold him back, because Diaz will have all that momentum coming up towards the next corners.
Yeah, he's got the momentum, he's got the draft, and here he goes. He's going to try that inside line, and he just... Once again, Mr. Diaz just taking off. now we'll have to see if Mark Dillon has anything he can do to climb onto the back and just hold on, and maybe Dennis will drag him off, secure second place.
Well, we know Dennis is pretty much an alien in this series, so it's either yield to Dennis and sacrifice your second place, or just keep it pointed in the right direction and get that podium. I think Dillon might be happy with the latter, considering the result he had in race 1. So Mark Dillon, if I was Mark Dillon Jr., I'd be happy with where I am, but he does have that very dangerous David Lehman looming in the background.
Yeah, David Lehman, who's really started to put together some good lap times. Once he cleared all that traffic, it'll be interesting to see if he can close that gap any further on Mark Dillon, and then who knows, maybe possibly catch up to Dennis and see if we can't have a race between those two. Would be nice.
Oh, we've had a big Dave Candy's got some big damage on his car. Now let's take a look and see what happened, and unfortunately we all know which corner this is going to be. It's up through Moss Corner again, just gets it all wrong, just goes straight on through the mid part of that corner and just smacks into that retaining wall. Now, it might not seem like much in iRacing, but if you're in a real car and you hit that retaining wall, it's going to leave a mark.
It does, and he is three-wheel motion himself. He's managed to get it all the way around to pit row. Well, that's a shame. Dave Candy was having a great race, too.
Yeah, he was, as we've just seen Christopher Hara get into it with Zach Maxson, and unfortunately Hara, coming off the worst in that one, goes straight off into the tyre wall, ripping off the left hand side of his car. He is going to tow that to pit road and pretty much out of this race. Now, we've had 4 retirements so far, 2 drivers in pit road receiving repairs. Scott Herbert still playing catch up back in P12, but this race seems to be more of a race of attrition than race 1, as we've had an incident also for Robert Lowry, who had an off track, and amazingly it wasn't through the corner we all expected it was actually through turn 2 this time.
Yeah, turn 2 just got in there just a little bit hot. Managed to keep it off the wall though, some nice driving. Little dirt track experience going on there possibly.
Well, if he's doing dirt tracking like that, I think he should turn up to the Pro Trucks race after this one. As he's showing some skills right there. There's Steve Rubens, who was bleeding spots earlier on in this race and now has managed to get a couple back because of the incidents that have happened ahead of him. Rubens having a good race there and looking good for a top 5 here. Now, it's going to be a big challenge for him to get up to David Lehman, but like we said before here, JR, a lot of things can happen between now and the checkered flag.
Yes, yeah, we still have almost 30 minutes left of this race, so there's plenty of opportunity for these guys to claw back positions, and there's also plenty of opportunity for them to lose positions. As we've seen, Moss Corner, they're still going to have 19 more tries at Moss Corner.
Yep, and going back to Moss Corner, Zachary Maxson's just had a spin up through there as well after getting passed by Bryce Anderson, and the incident started before Moss Corner, got on the grass on the run up to it and just did a very sick drift through the first part of it.
Yeah, that was nice. If he were able to keep it in there, maybe could have drifted that whole corner.
Maybe we should start a series called Drifting for Amateurs as well.
I think we should hold lessons on how to take Moss Corner.
Yeah.
We'll have Drifting for Amateurs where we just go through Moss Corner.
You think it's bad through Moss Corner now? You should wait until Wednesday night when we've got 55 cars on the track and they're all going through that same corner.
55 cars with LMP2s who love to dive bomb in that particular corner, because it is a great overtaking.
It is, but also, as we've seen tonight, a very dangerous corner, as we're seeing one driver coming out of pit road. I believe that is Zachary Maxim making his return to the track after that little half spin he had through Moss Corner. He's rejoined behind Dave Candy. Now, Candy has also been down pit road after damaging his car and is now... Well, he's not in a battle with Scott Herbert. He's a good lap ahead of him, I believe. So, Candy is safe for now, albeit 30 seconds off the back of Bryce Anderson, who's up to P9 now, incidentally.
Yeah, Bryce is slowly starting to pick off some of those positions that he lost earlier in the race. His lap times are equal with those guys he's trying to gain, though, so that's going to be hard for him to start making up those spots unless he finds some clear traffic.
Well, his best time so far tonight is a 1:11.76, and that was the lap that is just done. It's still half a second slower than Dennis Diaz, who just set the fastest lap of the race with a 1:11.29. So Dennis, even though he's taking the lead, is not slowing down, and we've seen that time and time again. Mark Dillon Jr. still holding a decent gap over David Lehman. Now, as much as I'm actually surprised about that, David Lehman's been on it since the start of the race, but has not been able to close that gap to Mark Dillon Jr. Now, that's a very interesting strategy to see, or a very interesting situation to be seeing right now.
Yeah, Mark has really found some pace and is very consistent. In fact, he's not let David Lehman catch him at all. He has been posting similar, if not faster, lap times. It's really nice to see Mark after rebounding after that rough first race that we saw.
Yeah, very rough first race for himself. As we're going to go to the battle box right now, and we're going to see where the gaps are right now, and if I can find the gaps right now. As is it going, oh, there we go, relative. As Diaz is sorry, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just saying, looks like we got a little battle here coming up with Robert Lowry, Zach Purcell, and Zach Nurberger. Those guys are all within a second, and now we have Robert Lowry, who just gave those positions easily to the Zachs and a few others.
Yeah, so Lowry under the Zach attack as well. So, and he went straight on our favourite corner. So, Lowry unfortunately losing a ton of spots right there. Even Bryce Anderson was able to get around him. Daniel Barnett, though, driver of the race so far in race 2.
Yeah, Daniel Barnett is having a great race, up 9 spots already, with plenty of time to go. And again, we talked, just keep it clean, keep it on the track, be consistent. I think Dennis was telling everybody don't try to push too hard. Just drive the car, don't try to over push the car, and you'd be surprised what happens.
Yeah, it does have Bryce Anderson closing in on him, as we've got a couple of drivers in pit road. Steve Rubens just made his scheduled pit stop of the race. He's just coming out of pit road right now. He's rejoined in P9. Robert Lowry, after his off track through Moss Corner, decided to bring it in for his scheduled stop. He's just coming out now. He rejoins in P9. So Rubens up to pit, came out in P8. Lowry in P9. Dave Candy's already been in pit road after he ripped the right rear off of his car. He is in a battle with Scott Herbert, not for position, but for track position. The closest battle to Dave Candy right now is Zachary Maxson as the race leader, brings it down to pit road for his scheduled stop.
Yep, these guys are starting to come in, get that scheduled stop out of the way, and hopefully be able to go the rest of the way and not have any incidents. So be curious to see where it jumbles up and where these guys file in at. Oh, looks like Bryce Anderson and Daniel Barnett both coming in the pit at the same time.
Yeah, as there is Diaz just coming out of pit road. Purcell and Nürnberger stay out. Now a bit of an interesting strategy there, albeit they're only about 5 seconds ahead of Dennis Diaz, so it won't be long-lived, but it's always nice to get a lap lead under your belt, as Dillon has already been down pit road. Same for David Lehman, and Dillon lost a lot of time for that pit stop because Lehman is only 1 second back now.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he just had a slow pit entry or slow pit exit, but he's lost some of that time. Be curious to see if he can stretch that gap back out here.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy. We know how David Lehman is. We know what sort of a driver he is. He will not stop until the checkered flag falls to try and get that position away from Mark Dillon. Dillon, though, is a good 5 seconds ahead of Steve Rubens. Rubens just outside the top 5 right now, obviously with Zach Purcell and Zachary Nürnberger being out on track, as Purcell and Nürnberger both bring it to pit road for their stops.
Yeah, so we'll cycle back through, and Dennis will take the lead once again. See where his gap ends up being. Looks like he's got quite a big gap already on Mark Dillon. But I'm just impressed with Mark Dillon. It takes a lot to come back after a race like he had the first race. You know, you got that frustration and anger from having all those mistakes, and he has drove a flawless race so far.
That he has. He's been absolutely flawless, and he might have PTSD from this track, but he also knows how to run around this track, and he almost won the first ever Endurance for Amateurs race. Let's not forget that, if he didn't make that mistake out the final turn. But he might be putting those worries to bed right now with how he's running. David Lehman's going to put him under pressure, though. Let's not forget that. He's going to be right on him until the checkered flag, as I've already mentioned. Purcell and Nürnberger both out in P5 and P6, so they've both gained out of that pit stop. Nürnberger, just like his teammate Mark Dillon, having a much better race this time around.
Yeah, Zach's also made a great recovery from race 1. He had a lot of struggles, a lot of incidents in race 1, and he's had a really clean race today, and it's nice to see. I mean, he's gained 6 positions already, so he started in the back, and he's managed to work his way up through the pack so far, through the field. Nice to see Zach. Well, both Zachs really are having a good race.
Yeah, Purcell has actually been in the top 5 for both races so far tonight, so he's had a very impressive run of form. One battle going on right now is between Robert Lowry and Daniel Barnett. Now, Barnett lost a couple of spots through his pit stop. That was because Robert Lowry made that earlier pit stop. Now, the question is for Lowry, will that come back to bite him? Because obviously, Barnett came in, like, I think it was 3 laps after Lowry, and might have the fresher tyres now compared to that Ferrari-inspired Formula 3 car.
Yeah, I think, you know, Lowry will be able to hold him off here for a few laps, but I think after probably 8 or 9 laps, he's going to end up wishing he had some fresher tires. It's amazing how much tires really matter in these cars. You know, you go and...
Oh, Lowry makes a mistake! Yeah, big mistake from Lowry coming through Moss Corner once again here, JR. It's just one after another here, and Lowry, for the second time tonight, has made a mistake here, and here comes Daniel Barnett. Big run down the inside of him and down the Andretti straight. Yeah,
and he's got the inside line. He's going to run
Daniel
a little bit wide. Daniel's going to go for the crossback. Oh, these two are really, that's not a spot you want to be side by side either.
No, and he jumped over the curb as well as Lowry goes around to the final turn, and that is going to cost him dearly. Didn't hit anything, but now he's going to fall under pressure from Dave Candy now. And Lowry just went through that final corner a bit too hot and just went straight around.
Yeah, he was trying to hold that inside line, and it's hard to do there. There's a little bit of a camber there, and you catch it just strong, and it spits you out. And boy, that was a shame for David Lowry too. He was having a great race, a nice battle with Mr. Barnett.
And he was very lucky to not hit that pit wall right there. We've seen a lot of people do that in the past, and good to see him actually get away unscathed, albeit now has to try and get back around Dave Candy and gets around Moss Corner safely for good measure as well. Same does Zachary Maxson, who's not too far behind this battle as well. But Daniel Barnett now has that chip off his shoulder, now can focus on trying to get to the back of Bryce Anderson here.
Yep, and now we got the two Zachs, are almost an identical replay of the last two. They're fighting tooth and nail all the way down Andretti straights and through White's corner and into corner 1. They're side by side for a good half a lap now. Yeah, and a very wide angle there from Zach Purcell, but ultimately gives it up to Zachary Nürnberger, who now moves into the top 5. And Scott Herbert has had another problem here through Moss Corner once again, and that corner, out of all the drivers we've seen here tonight have problems through that corner, Scott Herbert has had the most here tonight. That corner is going to haunt him. He is going to have, and right in front of Mr. Dennis Diaz. Luckily for him, he was far enough ahead it didn't cause him any incidents. But yeah, Scott Hewitt has had a hard time with that corner tonight. He has been bitten there several times in each race. Yeah. Go back to Zach Purcell right now. We're back to live pictures as he's trying to stay on the back of
Zachary Nürnberger, but we immediately go to the battle for second place right now as David Lehman has reeled in Mark Dillon Jr. now for that second spot, and now Dillon has to put on the defensive moves once again. He couldn't do it against Dennis Diaz. He's going to have to do it again if he wants to hold on to that second place now against David Lehman.
Yeah, these two are running almost identical lap times now, so Mark has really put the hammer down, and it'll be curious to see how they, if they get alongside of each other. We've seen so many times tonight guys get alongside of each other and they end up taking each other out.
Yeah, we've just gone past the 10 minute to go mark, so we are ready to close this one out now as we're looking at the battle for second place between Mark Dillon Jr. and David Lehman. Dillon has it, Lehman wants it. They've got a good gap over Steve Rubens right now, who himself has a good gap over Zachary Nürnberger. Bryce Anderson still on the move right now. He's started closing in on Zach Purcell, and Purcell himself has started reeling Nürnberger back in again. We've got some very interesting battles to round this race off now, as here comes Lehman. He's got around Mark Dillon Jr. Mark Dillon Jr. now having to give that one up as he comes through the final turn. Now down to third place.
Yep, I think Mark put up a fight for as long as he could. I'm not sure if he had an incident there, if he was just a little slow, or if David Lehman was just able to put the pass on him.
Got a lot of slipstream going up the Andretti straight, and got a big momentum shift going into the right-hander after the Andretti straight. So it was just a lot of momentum and a very easy pass at the end of that for David Lehman, as we go back to the three-way battle for fourth place here. For fifth place, I apologise, as they're quite a ways behind Steve Rubens right now. It's between Zachary Nürnberger, Zach Purcell and Bryce Anderson for that fifth spot, and the last spot in the top five looking very hot and heavy right now. Oh, there goes Purcell around!
Purcell just got in there a little bit hot in, once again, Moss Corner.
Yeah.
And that's a shame. He was having a great race. He was really in there. It looked like he was going to be in there to fight with those other two guys all the way to the very end for that top five position. But now, unless he gets some help, I think that dream is going to be ended.
Yeah, I think you might be right. As I apologise if my mic was over-modulating. I just realised it was up very high. So I've just fixed that right now, but we're coming to the final knockings of this race now. Dave Candy has lost that position back again. He's actually got away from Robert Lowry. I apologise. That was the battle we were watching before. Not really any battles going on right now, as Bryce Anderson now is closing in on Zachary Nürnberger for the last spot in the top five. And if Anderson can get this away, this is probably the best night we've seen him have for a long time here, JR. Yeah,
Bryce is, like I say, he's quick, but he just seems to have those moments where he struggles, and he has had a, top 10 finish in the first one, top 3 in the podium in the first one, and he is battling. It's very conceivable he could end up in 5th place, a top 3 and a top 5. That's a great first night for Bryce.
Yeah. One driver that's going to have an even better night though tonight is this man, Dennis Diaz. 8.5 seconds to the good over David Lehman. Although Lehman is starting to close that gap, just ever so slightly eat away at Dennis Diaz's lead, but with 8 seconds the gap and less than 10 minutes to go, I think it's going to be too little, too late for Mr. David Lehman.
Yeah, David just wasn't able to get through the traffic as well as Dennis was. He just struggled a little bit at the beginning of the race, and I think that's going to cost him. I think right now Dennis is just putting in some nice consistent lap times and maintaining that gap, knowing he doesn't have to push too hard.
Yeah.
So I think David right now, he's kind of in that no man's land. He's 8.5 seconds behind, and he's 3.5 seconds ahead, so he's just going to maintain that pace and roll on in with a nice second place finish.
Yeah, and that'll be another good finish. He finished second in race 1. He'll get second in race 2. So Lehman on a good charge. Zachary Maxson has had another problem in this one, running very slowly again. Let's go back and see what happened to him driving the 700 machine. And it's through the final turn here. Just went in a bit too hot and... Oh, just a scrape up the wall. No serious damage for that Williams-inspired car, but... Not a good night there for Zachary Maxson as we go back to a battle here. This is the battle for 5th place here. This is very close now, side by side up for the Untitled straight. It's going to be momentum against momentum here as they go into the right-hander. Anderson, big power move around the outside, and Bryce Anderson on to P5. What a move there by the 69 driver.
Yep, Bryce has been on a tear. He's setting some good lap times. He is setting lap times almost as fast as Dennis is up front. So yeah, he managed to make that great move around Zach Nuremberger, and he's managed to pull away. He's starting to put a little gap between him and Zach. No
love lost between teammates here. Obviously, Bryce Anderson and Zachary Nuremberger both representing Pony Express here tonight. So I think they were just going to go as hard go as hard on each other as if they weren't teammates, and we saw that right there. They were battling all the way up through that Andretti straight.
Yeah, neither one of those guys wanted to lift, and Dave Candy had another big off coming into turn 1. He hit the barrier hard right in front of Dennis Diaz, who luckily once again to clear through an accident without any incidents.
Oh, that was a big hit. That Cookies number 08 just taking a big lick into that tire barrier, and Dennis Diaz, as you mentioned, was right there. That's the second time he's been he's had an incident happen right in front of him. Obviously, Scott Herbert was the first one. Dave Candy now the second one. As we're looking at Zachary Maxim right now, he's back up to speed again, albeit with a bit of front wing damage, but not too bad actually. He's had a difficult night tonight, Zachary Maxim, but despite the spins he's had and the difficulties he's had, still in the top 10. It's a good 43 seconds ahead of Christopher Hara. So with all that being said and done, Zachary Maxson not having a bad second race in it, all in all.
No, not at all. I mean, he's up 3 positions, so he's managed to improve his night. And there's nothing wrong with coming into Canadian Motorsports Park and walking out with a top 10. I would take that any day.
I would too. I'm not a fan of the twisty tracks like this one, Mid-Ohio, VIR, and Barber. Those tracks I'm not really a fan of, so for me to see drivers get around it and get a decent result out of it, that's a very deserves a round of applause in my book. So very well done to any of the drivers that get a good finish here tonight. Dennis Diaz out to a 9-second lead over David Lehman. Now Lehman out to a 5-second lead over Mark Dillon Jr. Now Mark Dillon Jr. is doing exactly what he needs to do here, JR. Just keep it straight on the track, not getting any trouble, and he's looking like he's going to get a decent result out of this. We are less than 3 minutes to go here. Steve Rubens is catching him, but it's still about 3.5 seconds the gap between himself and that 704 car.
He's got about 3.5 seconds on him, and as long as he can keep Steven from getting a draft and a momentum shift down that back long Andretti straights, I think he'll be just fine. He seems to be pretty consistent, running good lap times. But as we know, we still have the last corner on the last lap for Mark Dillon.
Yeah. Last corner, last lap. I mean, I hate to go back to old memories, but he lost it through the final corner with 5 minutes to go in the first ever Endurance for Amateurs race, as Dave Candy becomes the 5th retirement in this race. We're down to 12 drivers in this race now, as we're still looking at Mark Dillon Jr. still circulating around the track, not doing too badly at all. Steve Rubens going to get a good P4 here. He's got a decent gap over Bryce Anderson, who's fought his way up from outside the top 10 to possibly get a top 5 here tonight. Great result for him and a great recovery drive by that 69 driver rocking the student driver paint scheme here tonight. Zachary Nuremberger probably going to have to settle for 6th place here. Same for Zach Purcell, probably going to have to settle for P7 with Daniel Barnett. Great drive for him after a difficult first race in P8. Robert Lowry in P9 could have been better for him. He was in the top 5 at one point. And Zachary Maxson, as I've already mentioned, has had a difficult night, still able to pull off a top 10 if he can keep it in a straight line.
If that is the key word, is if they can make it through Moss Corner 3 more times, as we've seen tonight, it's eaten everybody minus Dennis Diaz, who he has eaten this track up and made it look easy tonight.
And he has, and I believe he's on his penultimate lap right now, so he is going to be getting the white flag next time by as he comes out of Moss Corner up the Andretti straight right now. Actually, I don't know if he's got enough time to get to the line before the checkered flag comes out. I don't think he will, so this might be the checkered flag here for Dennis Diaz as he comes up the Andretti straight. It's been a night of absolute dominance here for the reigning champion as he comes through the right-hander, through the left-hander, and through the right-hander. The checkered flag is in the air, so Dennis Diaz comes out the final turn and will collect the win here in the feature race. Diaz picks up where he left off in the last season and wins at Canadian Tire.
Bryce Anderson was able to catch Steven Rubens coming up the Mario Andretti straight and was able to pull that position off while Dennis was crossing the finish line. Great effort by Bryce Anderson tonight.
Well, let's see where that happened, because Rubens was about 3 or 4 seconds ahead of him, and all of a sudden Bryce Anderson's right there and catches him. Now that's strange for me, because Rubens was about 3 seconds up the road from Anderson, so where Anderson got that 3 seconds from is beyond me.
Yeah, well, however he did it, he managed to have an amazing race.
Absolutely. As you see on the left-hand side of your screen there on the timing tower, that is your unofficial results for the top 17 drivers in race 2 here tonight. Dennis Diaz, your winner. David Lehman in second. Mark Dillon Jr. It's going to be a tough choice for driver of the night here tonight, JR, because Dylan Anderson, Barnett, maybe Zachary Maxson as well. A lot of tough choices for driver of the night here tonight.
Yeah, a lot of these guys had great runs. I am just thoroughly impressed with Mark Dillon Jr. He struggled, he had incident, he had crash, he was in the pits on race 1, he had everything that could possibly go wrong on race 1, and he managed to come back to race 2 and take a podium position, 3rd place after that with no incidents, no issues. That is where my vote goes tonight. Sam, what do you think?
I have to agree. Mark Dillon Jr., very professional drive here tonight. In the second race, had a difficult first race, but came back and absolutely put on a show for us here tonight. So Mark Dillon Jr. does get the Pony Express Driver of the Night award here tonight. Very well deserved for the league owner, and not biased at all because he's the league owner, because he actually put on a great performance here tonight. But the night belongs to this man, Dennis Diaz, who sweeps the round here tonight, and we are going to try and get a word in with Dennis if we can find him. I think he just went offline. Yeah, I think he just went away. So let's bring in another driver. Oh, no, there's Dennis Diaz. Let's bring him in right now. And Dennis Diaz, race winner again in race 2, but you had to work for it this time. We've still got the win. Congratulations.
Thank you, Sam.
So a much harder job this time, but at the same time, you made it look just that easy here tonight. Just putting on those big power moves. I'm guessing you didn't really put on a sweat through that race there.
Actually, no, I did. Some of those moves were actually kind of sketchy, especially going around the outside. It's not easy, and with all the dirty air, I was getting so much understeer, so it was really hard to pass in the corners. But once I got clean air, once I went side by side, the car stuck, and I managed to make the moves happen.
Yeah, let's talk about this race compared to race 1. Obviously, you had a very clear run to the checker flag in race 1. What was the difference, obviously, in the car's behavior? Obviously, a clear track is going to make the car still nicer, but how was the car feeling when it came to having to actually pass people here in the second race?
As I said, the dirty air did not make it easy, so it was a matter of just waiting for them to make a mistake. I knew I had pace advantage off of the people up ahead because I was catching them in the corners, even though I had dirty air. And then on the straightaway that leads onto the final S's, the car starts revving out and it has no more gearing, so I had to back off the throttle to not blow the engine. Other than that, the car felt fine, other than the understeer from the dirty air.
Yeah, it was looked a bit more of a work for you tonight, and it's going to be just as much of a work for you next week as we head to the Far East and the Land of the Rising Sun. Next week we head to Suzuka. What are your thoughts heading into that one? Obviously, again, another twisty track, but a lot more speed involved this time.
Yeah, Suzuka is very technical, very precise. The precision you need is pretty high. It's the scene of the first win for the entire league for me, so it'd be nice to revisit it in a different vehicle this time. And then hopefully everything should go well. I think that I should have the pace to stay up front, but I don't know what someone else has cooking for me, so we'll see.
Hopefully Michael will turn up next week.
Yes, Michael, I know you're listening, so please show up. Let's have some fun.
Absolutely. But anyway, great result for you here tonight, Dennis. Before I let you go, anybody you want to give a shout out to who's responsible for bringing that meme F3 to victory lane here tonight?
So friends, family watching, usual as always, to my brothers Josh, Fernando, and Sebastian, to homegirl Marcella, and all my friends that have been watching. And then yeah, that should be it. It's been a fun race. It's gonna be fun watching the broadcast later tonight. So thanks, Sam, for everything you do as well, and same to Mark and everyone that makes the league run.
Absolutely, yeah. You definitely make our job easy for us with the performances you put on the track. But anyway, Dennis Diaz, congratulations, continuing where you left off in the previous season, winning as champion and putting that defense on straight away. Congratulations one more time, and we'll catch you next week when we
Yeah, let me also give another shout out. Someone just messaged me. So to Derek, Reina, Finley, everyone that's watching from that group, there's your shout out. Got it. I had to get it in at the last moment. So
is that the guy that just messaged on the live chat?
Yeah.
Oh, got it. But anyway, congratulations on picking up where you left off last season. Go ahead and get some rest, and we'll actually catch you in the booth on Wednesday night for Insurance for Amateurs.
Yeah, that's true. I'm gonna be there. So
good job. I reminded you. Have a good night.
See ya.
That was Dennis Diaz joining us from Victory Lane. We're waiting for... Well, David Lehman was there. Where has he gone? I lost him.
I'm not sure. I don't see him online anymore.
Well, I'm going to bring in the league owner, and I know you're going to be he's going to be very happy. So, Lynn, I'm going to leave the floor to you and let you ask the difficult questions to one Mr. Mark Dillon Jr. as we bring him into the booth right now. As Lynn, you have Mark Dillon Jr. with you from third place.
Well, congratulations, Mark. What a race. Nice recovery race after your incidents in the first race. How did you feel going into the second race?
Oh, good. Qualified P4 for the first heat and just had some early mistakes that I did my best to overcome, and I was lucky enough to get a last pass there at the end of the last lap to get up to 8th, which put me on the pole for the second heat. So that made a big difference, give me a big boost in that second heat, and was able to put together a full race without any more accidents and come out of there with a podium. So definitely a decent start to the season.
So you have a lot of history, as do I, with this track. How much does that play into your thought process going into those last couple laps, knowing some of the history you've had here?
Oh, man, I was getting pretty nervous. When Dennis said he got the white flag, I was like, all right, it's 5 seconds in front of you, 5 seconds behind you. I wasn't under any pressure. I had to really tell myself to just slow down and not make a mistake there on old tires with no fuel and 1 lap to go.
Well, you did a great job. We were watching, wondering how you were going to play, if you had any PTSD from some of the earlier incidents with that. Now, you had Dennis made a quick pass on you there, but you had a great battle with David Lehman. Were you hoping to keep him behind you, or did he just have a little bit more pace than you did this evening?
Well, I actually thought I was short on fuel. I use a system called IR Pit Crew. It was telling me that I was half a lap short, so I started saving fuel, and so I figured I would let David go by the same way I let Dennis go by on that straight there. And I figured, best case scenario, those guys have to pit again or spit and sputter, and I can maybe catch them. Worst case scenario, they've been faster than me all night anyways, so why put up a battle? But yeah, thought I was going to be short on fuel, and I didn't realize until Dennis said he had the white flag that I actually still had a lap and a half. So I never needed to save. I don't know if I could have held David Lehman off anyways. He's a hell of a driver.
Well, if in case you didn't know, you were actually faster than David. Your fastest lap, you had him by a 10th. So you probably could have held him off for that race. It would have been nice to see, but again, pit strategy, sometimes you just don't know if you're going to have enough fuel or not. So that's kind of a shame that we didn't get to see that battle. But going into next week, how does Suzuka play into your driving style, and do you have any bad memories on that one?
It doesn't. I hate Suzuka. Suzuka was on season 1 E4A, and you'll notice it hasn't been on there since. I'm not a fan. Don't like it. So should go better in the F3 car. I'm a much better open wheel driver than a GT driver. I prefer these lightweight, high downforce cars. So it should go better than E4A, but it's definitely not a good track for me.
Well, Mark, we appreciate it. Congratulations on 2 great finishes tonight. Is there anybody other than yourself that you'd like to give a shout out to this evening?
No, I just want to thank you guys for doing the broadcast. Scott Hurwitz for sponsoring this series. All the guys who came out and raced tonight, kicking off the season big. This is the biggest numbers we've ever had in this series. And I just want to give condolences to Mackenzie Johnson, who suffered a family loss tonight. I won't say any more than that, but I do want to let him know that we're sending condolences and keeping him in our thoughts and prayers.
Well, great. Well, we appreciate that, and yes, we'll keep Mackenzie in our thoughts and prayers as well. And once again, congratulations, Mark, and good luck in Pro 4 trucks. I believe you're set up here in an hour.
And here in just about the server's actually open right now, so
Well,
appreciate
then
it,
we
though.
won't keep you. Good luck, and we'll tune in and watch that over on Extreme Sim TV.
All right, thanks, guys.
That was Mark Dillon Jr. joining us from 3rd place. I'm quite sad we didn't get a word in with David Lehman, but obviously I'm guessing he had to run off and get ready for the Pro 4's truck, the Pro Trucks race. So no hard feelings towards him there. But before we go and get ready to watch that, JR, just final thoughts on the very, very hectic season opener here tonight.
Yeah, it was a great race. Again, it showed that Dennis is going to be really tough to beat this year. He looks like he is just as smooth and consistent as ever, but Canadian Motorsports Park once again puts on a show, and you just never know when you come to this track, Sam. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out.
Absolutely. But anyway, let's go to the results of tonight's race before we go anywhere here tonight. Let's take a look at the feature race results. As coming home with the victory here tonight was one Mr. Dennis Diaz. He comes home and gets his 2nd race win of the night. In 2nd place was David Lehman. Mark Dillon Jr. coming home in 3rd place in the Pony Express car. Good result for him after a difficult first race. Bryce Anderson picking up P4 after being outside the top 10 for most of the race. Good recovery drive for him. Steve Rubens rounds out the top 5 with Zachary Nürnberger in P6. Zach Purcell gets P7 with Daniel Barnett in P8. Robert Lowry in P9, and Zachary Maxson getting a good top 10 here tonight after what has been a difficult night for him as well. Christopher Hara just outside the top 10 in P11. Scott Hurwitz 92 to get him in P12. Dave Candy, Carl Smith, Stephen Thompson, Mackenzie Johnson and Sean Atkins all putting it on the hauler here tonight at Canadian Tire. Well, that's going to do it for us here tonight here for Pony Express Sim Racing. If you're new to the channel, make sure you leave a like. If you want to see more, make sure you hit the subscribe button and tap that bell to make sure you get notified when we are live again. But as things go for tonight, first one is in the books. We've got plenty more for you to come this week with the Pro 4 trucks about to kick off on Extreme Sim TV. But for us, we'll be back on Wednesday with the Endurance for Amateurs as they kick off their season at this very same track. And it's going to be all action when we go in search of a brand new champion with a brand new class of cars on this 4th season. But from myself, Sam Cooper Bennett, from my broadcast partner, Mr. J.R. Kopp, it has been a great night to see you all tonight. Thank you for making us a part of your evening. Have a good night.